Welcome back to AgriTalk. Today we are talking about biogas and biogas production. And with me in studio is Dr. Jacinta Mwirigi, who is a vet by profession and a biogas expert. Dr. Before we went on a break, you were telling us that there are very few disadvantages or even there are no disadvantages about biogas production.
Yes.
But my worry is, as a country that we're struggling with all this, why is it taking us taking us this long to adopt this technology?
Well, one of them is awareness creation, and that is what we are doing today. We have not had channels where many people are reached, and this one is one of the ways that you can reach people. Maybe you can have a platform where you can have a series of biogas production issues discussed. And then we also need economic support. Like I said, when we have a promoter and they bring in a subsidy, even as low as 25,000 subsidy, the uptake is very high. Because I have said one of the constraints is finances. Because you need to 60,000, 80,000 for a farmer. You really need to save, especially small-scale farmers, to come up with that unit. So awareness creation is one of them. The finances is another one. Otherwise, we have the animals. We have the capacity to produce a lot of biogas in the country. Yes, people need to understand the benefits. They need to know that it's a simple technology. We also need that regulation by the government so that anybody who constructs uses the standards that have already been set, because people come with very cheap technologies, and then they are able to produce biogas because it is easy to produce initially, but to sustain the production requires a sound environment, and those technologies have to be approved.
Okay.
There is also need to train masons, because every technology that comes in or design requires specific things that can make that design to be airtight, to be able to agitate or stir the material, to be able to be regulating and so on. So training and of masons for each design is very important.
Okay.
Yeah.
You talked about sustaining the system.
Yes.
Maybe explain to us a little bit why setting up is not a problem, but sustaining it might end up being a problem.
Yes. I have said for you to produce biogas, that container you require a number of things. One of them must be airtight.
Okay.
Another one is that you need water regularly, because the material has to be mixed with water for the first initial reaction to take place, the hydrolysis. And then you need the agitation. Some of those containers, you just put the material and it just stays there stagnant. And this material needs to be agitated or stirred or moved around so that the bacteria can have access to the undigested material. So you find some of those technologies are not able to do that. And therefore, when it is not able to do that, the material just stagnates there, and the digester kinds of suffers kind of indigestion, like the way I said, your stomach, it moves like your stomach, like your stomach. Other things that make it not sustainable is that there is a chain of bacteria that digest that material. If you have toxins or poisons, or you are using chemicals on animals, and then you pick that waste and put it in the biodigester, some of them will kill the microorganisms. So you will find that it will not work. Sometimes you would like to use so many materials, and then like just your stomach, they might go there and they cause indigestion, and that happens in the biogas also. You might have you put some materials that have a lot of the pH is very high, and for biogas you require around neutral pH. Some of those materials might be very acidic or very alkaline. They will just cause the indigestion, and the biogas will not work. And if it is not collected, it will just go down. So if all those things are not there, then you'll find that the biogas will not work well. Another important thing for biogas to work is that it works at a certain temperature range. Just like the way your stomach or your body is operating at a certain temperature, and hence your stomach, biogas production takes place at temperatures from the small-scale biodigesters, temperatures of 32 to 42 degrees centigrade are ideal. Otherwise, if you have an industrial biogas unit, which is very big, then you have to look for ways of heating the contents. Okay? So if that digester you bring, for example, some digesters that are promoted, they are made of a thin cover like plastic, and they are taken to very cold places. You find that the temperatures go very low. The bacteria are not able to work because they work within that temperature. And then if the temperatures are sustained at that low temperature, that digester will just collapse. It will not work.
Okay.
So you find those are some of the things that make it not be sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really get that, because that is one thing I didn't expect. In that, even as you construct your digester, you must know where you are doing it. If it's a hot place, there's a particular material for hot places.
Yes.
For cold places, there must be also a particular material.
Yeah. When you are constructing the underground one, like the fixed dome we are talking about, that one, the ground takes care of the temperature. Okay. Wherever you are, it's in cold places, in warm places, it will work. But when you have these plastic ones which are put above the ground, the ambient temperature or the environmental temperatures will just affect it. So when it is very cold or raining, and that digester is rained on, it's a plastic material, then it will not produce biogas because the bacteria will not be able to work. Then when it is very hot, it will produce a lot of biogas. So what you can do is that if you have those ones that can only work in cold places, you can do two things. One, you can have a biogas storage, so that when it is hot, it is producing a lot of biogas, and it is being stored, and then you can use it later on when it is not producing. Okay. Another thing is that you can cover that biodigester. Maybe you can put it in a room which is not cold, so that it can be able to maintain the temperature. And that one increases the price, the cost, making it even more costly than the construction ones. Okay. Yeah.
So are there institutions that train, you talked about the training of masons and training of people who come and put up the digesters.
Yes.
Is there an institution that you know in mind that does that?
The Ministry of Energy has been doing it, but we have the association, the Biogas Association of Biogas Constructors in Kenya. They also train their masons. But what happens is that when a promoter comes with a specific design, like now the fixed dome I'm talking about, we have had about four very good designs. We have one called Kamatech, which originated from Tanzania. It does very well. We have another one called Akut, which was promoted by the German Technical Corporation. It also does very well. We have another one that was called KenBeam, which was promoted by the Kenya National Domestic Biogas Program. It also does very well. When somebody comes with a specific design, they always train masons.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there a material or waste that is known to produce the best biogas?
Yes. Yes and no. All the materials can produce biogas. They will be biodegraded to produce biogas. Okay. But there are some materials which are very good. Like, for example, cow dung has all the bacteria that you need to produce biogas. But when you use like plant materials, crop materials, you will be forced to add at least 5 to 30% of the animal waste material, especially cow dung, so that you introduce the bacteria. Oh, okay. They are there in the environment, but the quantities might not be that much. And even for, let's say, animal material, you will find that a certain amount, same amount of maybe poultry waste, will produce more biogas than the cow dung. Maybe because of the composition and the ease of breakdown.
Okay. Yeah. You had earlier compared us with the Tanzania. I'd say Tanzania are a little bit ahead of us.
Yes.
What do you think Tanzania is doing right that we are not yet? I think we have more dairy farms in this country that can produce more biogas.
Well, dairy is not the only one that can produce biogas. You can produce this from chicken, pigs, and all that. But I think it's a matter of promotion and awareness creation. Like Tanzania came up with that, they initially came up with that Kamatech design, which is very sustainable. It can go up to 50 years, producing biogas without any other maintenance except feeding it. And I think because of that technology now, which was sustainable, people are able to take it more than some of the technologies we have been having here, which come up and they stay for 1 or 2 years and then they fail, and then now people give up. I think it's that design which gave them a lead.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you talk about designs, yes, are these designs meant to last forever, or they have a lifespan?
Of course, everything has an expiry or a lifespan, but like the one I'm talking about called fixed doom, it can give you surface for 50 years without doing any maintenance except feeding. But after that, you might be forced to do a few maintenance here and there. There are others like the floating drum, which was the initial one that was promoted in Kenya, which was made of a thick drum covering a cement block. And then that drum had to be very strong because when the biogas is being produced, it expands, so it had to be very heavy. Oh. And then biogas, as I have said, it produces many gases. One of them is hydrogen sulfide, and that hydrogen sulfide can corrode the metal. So it was corroding that metal, and therefore within about 2 or 3 years, the metal has holes. You have to remove it and weld it, and because it has to be very strong or very heavy so that the gas expansion does not cause an explosion, then you find to remove it from that digester is very difficult. So some of those ones were not very sustainable. Okay. There's the same case with the plastic ones. If you put a plastic one, even an animal with sharp horns can come and pierce it. So the sustainability must not be as children can play there and pierce it. Some birds with sharp claws, some ants can attack it or that. But the fixed doom can give you an initial 50 years without any maintenance, construction or masonry maintenance. And then you can restart, renovate it again and start again. It can go for many years.
Okay.
Yes.
Is it possible for you to compare, let's not go to the comparison, in terms of can I package and sell my biogas just the way we package and sell LPG gas?
Yes, you can package and sell biogas, but for the small scale digesters that we are promoting in the field, it is not possible. First of all, the amounts of biogas being produced. And secondly, for you to package biogas, you need to purify it, because now it has methane, carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, water, and all that. Purifying means you'll get a purifier for each one of those items, and that one will add an extra cost. Then you will need a can. You can't use the cans that are in the market because you know they have the property rights. So you either come up with yours, or you discuss, or you negotiate with the ones which are already there. That increases cost. Also, for you to can biogas so that you can be able to sell it, you need to store it. You can't just get it from the digester and the package, because when it goes down or the pressure goes down, then you have nothing to package. The storage unit also costs money. But otherwise, if you have a big or industrial biogas unit or a commercial one, you can can. It is canned in European countries, and it is used like a source of energy, like to drive cars and trains and all that. And you just go to a gas station and you just put it the way you just put petrol here. Okay. So they are being used. There are countries which are even substituting up to 17% using biogas, their energy.
Okay.
So it can be canned, but the economies of it for small scale biodigesters is not possible. But for large scale, it's possible. Yeah.
Okay. I'm also thinking, is it possible to introduce some of these technologies to be taught in schools? Because I remember when we were growing up, we used to have agriculture as a unit.
Yes.
But these days not there. Though I've seen they want to reintroduce the 4K clubs.
Yes.
Do you think that can have an impact in driving some of these technologies into society?
I tend to think so. Even right now, we have a number of schools and even institutions that have biogas units, but I don't know how much the students are involved. We have those biogas units that are using animal waste, especially cow dung. We even have institutions that are using the fecal material to produce biogas for schools.
Okay.
Yes.
So again, another thing that I just came to my mind is most of our farmers are small-scale farmers, and in some regions the land is becoming smaller and smaller. So they are living in very tight neighborhoods. Yet we have a very strong cooperative society. Can these farmers also come together? Let's say we are neighbors. We have an acre each. Can we contribute and build a biogas that all of us can find ways of feeding it and producing energy for all of us?
Yes, that is a communal biogas unit.
Okay.
It has been tried in some places. Some places it has, like some Asian countries, it has worked well. In others, like ours, there's what do you call it? You imagine that everybody has to contribute material. Okay, construction is not a problem. Everybody has to contribute material. And what happens when some people stop contributing? So if there is a committed group in a neighborhood, which is not very far, because there is also a length into which you can supply the biogas. For example, the domestic biogas units can supply even up to 200 meters. And the bigger it is, the more the length of the pipe that you can use. So you can use it that way, it is possible. But now the operations, how people will cooperate, is what will make it sustainable or not.
Okay.
Yes.
How safe is it? How safe is this gas? Because the LPG gas is, if it leaks, they might end up being a problem.
Yeah, it can cause an explosion, but it is safer than the LPG. If you have a leakage in your house, all you need is to open the windows, and then it will go out, and then you close the leakage. The rate of explosion is not as high as the LPG. It requires more oxygen to be able to explode.
Okay.
Yeah. So about 20 times more of the LPG. So by the time it gets that amount of oxygen, if you open up and it gets out, then you'll be safer. But it is advisable that where you construct a biodigester, you put at least a 3-meter perimeter fence, so that people, like children, don't go to play there and then maybe they can ignite a fire or anything like that. Okay. But otherwise, it is very safe compared to LPG.
Okay.
Yes.
And in terms of usage, does it burn the same way as the LPG gas that we know? Or it takes longer to cook with?
No, it takes the same time, but what happens that it is slightly heavier, more dense than the LPG because of the impurities. So when you come to using the jet in the cooker, it needs to be, you can't use the one for LPG directly. It has to be enlarged a bit. Otherwise, it will cook. If you have 1 cubic meter of gas, it will cook for 1 hour, just like LPG. Yeah, it is odorless. It does not smell, but the impurities in it, like hydrogen sulfide, can bring a bit of smell. It is colorless, but it burns with a blue flame.
Okay.
Yes.
So apart from cooking, I can light with it, all those?
You can heat water, you can cook with it. There are biogas appliances like fridges, lamps, and all that can use biogas. But if you are producing enough, you can also generate electricity and use it in anything that you use for electricity. But I've also said that it is a fuel. You can use it like diesel, like petrol, to run cars and vehicles, but you need adequate amounts.
Okay.
Yes.
What do you think is the future of biogas in this country or in the world?
The potential is very high. What we need is the awareness creation. What we need is a regular promoter and somebody who can assist, especially financially, with a small subsidy to assist, even if it's in the form of a loan, to assist the farmers. Because raising that kind of amount of money at a go takes time, and sometimes somebody might not be able to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
As an expert in this biogas field,
yes.
Have you ever tried maybe approaching a financial institutions, and what was their feedback in terms of financing?
Yes, for example, we have some cooperatives that are able to finance their members to construct biogas. And when you have such a cooperative society, you find that in that neighborhood, the adoption is very high. I have not approached any institution, but I think it is not impossible for institutions to finance it.
Okay. Dr. Ari, earlier on you talked about biogas being environmentally friendly. We've had a lot of stories about global warming and climate change. How can the adoption of biogas help in mitigating global warming and climate change?
Okay. Global warming, as you understand it, is that there are a number of gases, they are called greenhouse gases, that go up in the sky about 40 kilometers from the ground. We call it the stratosphere, and they form a layer there. When they form a layer there, the rays from the sun are able to come down, and in normal circumstances, those rays are, some of them are absorbed by our bodies to give us the warmth that we have, the earth to get to the warmth we have, but the excess is deflated backwards into the sky. It's disseminated in the sky. So what happens is that when you have that greenhouse layer, it's a layer like the greenhouse gas paper that we normally put, the rays from the sun are very strong, so they can penetrate and come to the ground. But the ones which are normally taken back into, they are not absorbed, the excess, which is supposed to go up and get lost. It goes and hits that layer, and then instead of penetrating, because now the rays are not strong, they are put back to the earth again. Okay. So now, instead of the normal temperatures we get higher than the normal temperatures, and that's what we call global warming. So as long as those rays are there, we will still continue, the earth will continue to warm. So when we use biogas, it means waste like cow dung and all that, which rots in the environment to produce methane, which goes to form a greenhouse gas layer. It will not be there. So the heat will just go and get lost in the environment. Okay. So our temperatures will remain the same. They will keep on regulating ourselves. We will absorb what we can, and the extra is thrown back to the environment, to the skies. So when many people adopt biogas, then it means all those greenhouse gases, the animal waste, for example, produces the methane, which we use as biogas, and in the process there are those trace gases like nitrogen dioxide, which is also a greenhouse gas, and also carbon dioxide. It's a greenhouse gas. So when these gases like methane, we use it for cooking, then we are reducing the amount of gas that is going to form the greenhouse gas. And therefore, we are mitigating against global warming. Okay. And the higher the number of people who adopt this, the more effective it is. You know, the environment there is no cover. If you do it on your farm, even the neighbor will get the benefit, and the whole world. That's why it's called global, because it covers the whole world. Okay. So everybody has to do their part. And that is one of the things that farmers or the farming community can do to reduce or to mitigate against global warming. Okay. Yes.
When you talk about everyone doing their part as we wind up,
yes.
Being an expert in the biogas field,
yes.
and a proponent also pushing for the adoption of this technology,
yes.
What are your expectations for us all as a country? What are your expectations when it comes to the adoption of biogas as we close?
Yes. First of all, my expectation is that we have an apex body, or a body that is set aside from the Ministry of Energy, because biogas attracts a lot, very low funding. So we need somebody who will really concentrate on it. And then the promoter will be made of technical experts from the Ministry of Energy, from the Ministry of Agriculture, and other technical experts. And then we are not going to promote biogas alone, because biogas production will give us fertilizer, which will ensure food security, because it can increase food production even up to 25% by using that fertilizer. So that one is a food security issue. So we should not see it only as biogas, waste management, fertilizer production, and all that. We need a body that will continuously promote biogas, because what we are lacking right now is that continuous promotion. There's always a lapse. A promoter comes, there's uptake, the promoter goes, we go back to a slow motion.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jacinta, for that information about biogas.
Yes.
I'm sure our viewers back at home have really learned a lot when it comes to biogas production, yes. And we're expecting to see more uptake of the same.
Yes.
For our viewers back at home, that is it from AgriTalk today. Until next time, goodbye.